I'm going to turn to some other news now. Edmonton's CFL team has officially dropped its decades-old name. The team announced yesterday that they would no longer be called the Eskimos, a name, of course, considered racist toward the Inuit community. The announcement came after some key sponsors threatened to pull support from the team earlier this month, but the organization says it made the decision based on a number of factors, including consultation with fans. Just last February, the team said they would not be changing the name, so why the shift? Chris Presson is the president and CEO of the Edmonton football team. Hi, Mr. Presson. Good to see you. Thanks very much for making some time for us.
Of course.
I want to start off by asking, I think you'd understand about the timing of this decision. I remember about 5 years ago, and I know you hadn't quite started yet, obviously, with the team, but about 5 years ago, Natan Obed, we've had him on the show many times. He's the leader of the national Inuit organization, the ITK. He wrote a very detailed op-ed describing why the name was so offensive and so derogatory. Was this decision motivated by financial pressure?
No, it wasn't. It wasn't one specific instance or segment of those that may have been against us. It was really a total amalgamation of information that we had beginning, as you mentioned, about 5 years ago. As recently as 3 years ago, as you seem to be aware, we did significant research in the north with the Inuit, and then both locally with the Inuit as well. Most recently, in the last 15 days, we put out a survey to our partners, our season seat holders, casual buyers, and our community at large. And certainly the sentiment around the name that we saw a few years back had drastically changed toward those wanting our name to be changed.
Can you understand why, given the number of consultations that the team did, including one under your watch, where there was some support expressed, my understanding is, from the results, but also some description of how the name was negatively impacting them. Can you understand why the question is out there, though, about whether it was those sponsors threatening to pull away that actually motivated this decision to finally be made?
Not necessarily, because I, again, was a part of the entire process and know what all we went through. And it certainly wasn't just, again, one segment. It was much more than that. And our partners have been very supportive of us this entire time, including now. And we certainly respect all the opinions and perspectives of many, but that certainly was not the one mainstay that did it. It was just a total compilation of a number of different things and a number of different views and many, many conversations.
Did that much change between February and now, though? And I'm trying to be fair here, but I do want to challenge you, just because in February that diversity of opinion existed and the team was still resistant to making the change. Something obviously did change.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. I mean, the perspective changed because the world changed. And the world really didn't change until around the 1st of March. And now the lens in which we view the world is completely different than we did at that particular time. So I think the segmentation of life has drastically changed across all facets of business, regardless of what segment you're in. And so when you look at all that and you look at the lens that the world was once viewed through and where it is now, two totally different things.
From your perspective, how did that lens change on March 1st?
Everything changed. I mean, for everyone. I'm not someone that's solely responsible for feeling that change. We all have. And I think, certainly what's gone on in the world with, buildings being renamed, among many other things, I think it's clear what's gone on since February.
Do you regret not acting any sooner?
No, we don't regret it. I've been on the job for 10 months. And again, it was important for us to go through the proper process. It's also important for us to go back and have conversations that we've had before, but also to have new conversations of those that had been elected since we last spoke to them. And that being said, we gained a totally new perspective. And again, taking it all the way down to our city, which again, those perspectives had changed as well. So it brought us to a place where we knew we needed to make the change. And that's why we made the decision we did and the announcement we made yesterday.
I definitely don't mean to ask that with any malice. I was thinking today as I was preparing for the interview, I've made mistakes in my life, and sometimes when I recognize them, I look back and I think, I wish I had rectified it sooner. I honestly mean it from that perspective. And I'm wondering if during your conversations over the past 15 days or whatever it may be with other individuals in your organization, you've had that kind of a moment, like we could have and we maybe should have done this earlier. I'm glad we're doing it now, but I wish we had done it sooner.
Again, I can't really comment to that, simply because I wasn't involved initially. I've been on the job for 10 months, and so with that said, I wouldn't be able to comment realistically on that, whether or not we should have changed. I can tell you on the data that I've seen, there was clear support for the name in the Western Arctic in particular. So at that time, those before me decided we should keep the name, and that's what was chosen. And since then, we've got new information that we've added to the mix, and we've had more recent conversations about it, and thus the change and the willingness to move forward.
So what happens now? How does the new name get selected? What's the timeline for that? And how might those conversations, that information that you have on hand now, inform that process?
Yeah, we haven't laid the timeline out yet. I think within the last month, it's taken every fiber within me and our leadership team and our board of directors to come to this conclusion. We devoted a lot of time and energy to making sure that we got it right, and we believe we did. And now we're going to let the dust settle for a handful of days, and then we'll set out on a process to rebrand our team. Our intent is to keep our green and gold and our double E logo, and to come up with a new name. That's going to take not weeks and not months, but many months to do so. It's quite an arduous process.
What does it involve? Why so arduous? Do you think it'll take more than a few months?
Well, we've had our name for 7 or 8 decades, so we can't unwind 7 or 8 decades in a few days. So it's going to take us involving our fans and our sponsors and many people beyond that to make sure that we get it right, make sure that we've taken our time, and make sure we can deliver on something that our town can be proud of.
Before I let you go, I'd love to ask you a more general question about the league. Just because this is a political show, I've had the Heritage Minister on. I've asked him whether or not a decision is imminent, or they're considering whether or not to financially support the league. The ask for $150 million was made a number of months ago. I've also heard from players that they're concerned about getting paid less or not paid at all. Do you think that should be part of the negotiation with the federal government? Like, would you be okay if money from the feds was predicated on some sort of agreement with the players?
I think you'd have to ask the league that. I don't think that's for me to comment on. I'm trying to run a team, not a league, so I think you'd have to talk to the Players Association and the commissioner himself.
What about your position? Do you have a position on the federal government? Like, what we get a lot of people from the government watching. Do you have a message for them about the significance of the league and the potential for some help?
Yeah, I mean, clearly we need help. We're in a financial crisis, as it's no secret, and not only with our team, but beyond that, with our league as well. Whenever you, in the middle of a pandemic, and it's created the crisis across the globe, not just with the sports team in Edmonton, certainly it's palpable. And when you look at not having any games and not having any games potentially this season, unless we get our hub city model worked out, then clearly we have only expense going out and no revenue coming in. And I don't know that long-term any business can operate that way.
All right. Well, I really appreciate your time, Mr. Presson. Pleasure having you with us.
Thank you.
Hi, I'm Vashi Capellos, host of Power in Politics. See more of our show by subscribing to the CBC News channel or click the link for another video.